What up guys, it's Adrian from YouMotorcycle, and in today's video we're going to be doing a quick and dirty comparison, side-by-side comparison of these two bikes. We got the Honda CB300R on one side, we got the Yamaha R3 on the other, and we're going to be talking about what the differences are, what the similarities are, and basically helping you figure out a few things. One, can the R3 live up to its sporty looks? Two, if the Honda is the slower bike, does that mean you shouldn't get it? And three, which bike is right for you? Let's get right into it. So first we have the Yamaha R3. With its full fairings look, we can tell right away this is a motorcycle that's targeted at the person who really wants to be on a 600cc Yamaha R6. And next to it we have the CB300R, which is definitely the slower of the two bikes, but it's rocking a neo-retro look. It's not pretending to be anything that it isn't, and it's still packing a lot of the same motorcycle goodness as the R3. Now the Honda is rocking a 286cc single-cylinder fuel-injected 6-speed tranny, and it's a little bit different, but not all that far off from the R3. The R3, whose motor we can't see, is a 321cc twin-cylinder fuel-injected 6-speed tranny. So they're both fuel-injected, they both have 6-speed trannies. The real difference is the single-cylinder 286cc Honda versus the twin-cylinder 321cc R3. Honestly, that difference between twin and single-cylinder is probably the biggest difference between the two bikes. The single cylinder, it's one cylinder doing all the work. It's also smaller overall motor, versus the Yamaha is going to benefit from having two cylinders to share the workload, and overall it's a bigger motor. So power advantage definitely goes to the R3. The end result is this baby right here makes about 42 horsepower, whereas that girl over there only makes about 32. The ergonomics are obviously also very different, with the R3's handlebars being down and low, relatively. If you look kind of compared to where the gas tank is, you'll notice the tank actually comes up a little bit above the handlebars. The R3 is going to put you in a more aggressive position. It's nicer for tucking low and high speeds and getting a little bit less wind on your chest, especially with that nice windscreen. On little bikes like these, being able to be in a tuck position will actually give you more power when you're on the highway, but being crouched like that is not going to be comfortable for longer rides. In comparison, if we look at the Honda CB300R, we notice those handlebars come up way higher than the tank, so you're going to be much more upright when you're riding this bike. You'll also find on the R3 the bars are a little bit more swept inwards, versus on the CB300R they kind of stick out more wide, almost like a dirt bike. This kind of handlebar setup is much better for inner city commuting, stop and go traffic, but you might want to get a windscreen for longer or higher speed rides on the highway. In terms of seat height, the numbers on seat height seem to differ depending on what source I find, but on paper it seems like the seat height on the CB300R is actually half an inch taller than the seat height on the R3. And I'm going to throw my legs over real quick and just see how I feel. Yeah, this is very nice and low. My legs are very bent. Easy to flat foot at around 5'10", 5'11". And I'm looking, and the CB is definitely noticeably taller now that I look at it. But I'm still able to flat foot. I think what's interesting is that the position of the pegs where they fall is kind of a little bit in the way of my leg. And that's a great thing to note. Seat height is not the only thing that matters. What's also important is the shape of the seat, where it's cut out, and how it's going to fit your body, your thighs, etc. And in this case, obviously, the position of the pegs and where your legs go is going to make a big difference. So really what I'm getting at is, unfortunately, there is still no substitute for just going to a dealer and just sitting on all the bikes. Even if you plan on buying used, there's really nothing wrong with just going to the dealer, sitting on all the bikes, and seeing which one fits you best. Next thing we'll compare is the weight of the bikes. Honestly, the Honda CB300 wins in weight hands down. It only weighs 313 pounds compared to the 368-pound wet weight of the Yamaha R3. That's a 55-pound difference, or about 17%. That's crazy. Now, again, I'll give you the details on my 250. It weighed like 420 pounds. So it's not that the R3 is particularly heavy. It's just that the CB300 is freakishly lightweight. And part of what contributes to that lightweight is the wheelbase of the bike. The wheelbase is the difference between the front axle and the rear axle. On the CB300R, it is 1 inch shorter in wheelbase than on the R3. That's going to make for a bike that handles a little bit better, because the distance between the tires is just that much tighter together. But again, honestly, having ridden both bikes, I don't think that's going to be a big cause for concern. It is just something I want to put out there for those of you guys who are looking for a bike that is going to be just that much smaller. On the other hand, the R3 might have a suspension advantage. See, both bikes have about 4 inches of travel up front, but the R3 has an extra inch, so 5 inches of suspension travel on the rear, thanks to that shock right there. So does that mean it's going to be the more comfortable bike? Well, not necessarily, because again, the ergonomics of the other bike might actually be more comfortable, but this one should be able to handle going through a big bump a little bit easier. Now, we noticed on paper that the R3 should actually come with a 140 rear tire, not a 150. So it would actually have a slightly smaller rear tire than the CB300R, but I'm wondering if that source of information was wrong, because I'm looking at this bike, and this R3 does have a 150 rear tire. So please, guys, if you guys have an R3, take a look at yours. Let me know what size you're rocking on the rear and what size you think it should come with. Leave me a comment and let me know, because all the data that I saw contradicts what I'm seeing on this bike in front of me. As far as braking goes, neither one of these bikes are known for having really fantastic, exceptional braking, so it's probably a good thing that they are both really lightweight bikes, and that most riders who tend to stick on these bikes longer will be probably a little bit smaller in frame. But it is something to consider if you're going to be doing a lot of two-up riding, is give yourself a little bit of extra space for braking, especially if you're a newer rider. That's always a good thing to do. Luckily, both bikes come with ABS, either optional or mandatory, depending on where in the world you're located. So that'll help new riders out a little bit. And one last point of comparison on the brakes. I saw an article on Canada Moto Guide when I was doing some research for this post, and they said that they believe that their 2019 R3 had better braking than a previous year model that they had tested. So I don't know if 2019 necessarily has better brakes or if anything was changed, but if you guys happen to know, again, just leave me a comment down below. So now let's just do a little walk around side by side so you can kind of see the differences. One thing I noticed is the R3 gives a much longer look on account of that rear tail really being pointed out right there, as opposed to on the Honda, it just kind of ends. So if you end up doing a tail tidy, which is when you remove this rear piece and mount your license plate right here, the Honda ends up looking much more kind of cut off, versus the R3 has that almost hornet wasp-like stinger at the back, which I find kind of nice. Handlebars, obviously, like I said, big difference between the two. Having the windscreen would give you a little bit more protection. Motor is going to be the main difference. That and ergonomics. Alright, so let's go back to those questions we were asking. Does the R3 live up to its looks? Honestly, yeah. The thing looks great. It makes about 42 horsepower. The 250cc that I did like 20,000 miles on, I took all over Ontario, Quebec, basically anywhere I could ride to, I went. That thing only had 28 horsepower, and at the time, that was considered a lot. So 42 horsepower is very, very good. If you're looking for a beginner motorcycle that looks like a super sport, that's definitely the bike for you. Now, does that mean that you shouldn't buy the Honda CB300R if that's what you have your heart set on? No, actually, I kind of like the Honda CB. Let me tell you why. See, personally, I really dig the look of this bike. And it's a beginner bike. It's not meant to be a speed demon. It's going to be much more comfortable, much more ergonomic. It is only a single cylinder motor. So yeah, you're going to save on gas, but honestly, it's not going to be as fun, especially on highway, as the R3 will. If you're looking for just a basic beginner motorcycle that's going to be as easy to handle as possible, it does not get much easier than the CB300R. If you want to get a bike that, maybe for insurance reasons, you're going to have to keep for several years until you can afford cheaper insurance, so you want to get as much bang for your buck as you can, the R3 might be better for you. But honestly, you can't go wrong with either bike. These are both awesome motorcycles. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Sorry this is kind of a little bit rushed. I have my customer coming to pick up his bike in the next couple hours, and I want to take it out for another quick test ride that I'm going to probably record and post up on YouTube in the coming weeks. And then I'll also have a video review of the R3 coming up on YouTube as well. So hit subscribe if you want to see those. Hit like if you like the video. If you have any questions about either bikes or anything to do with motorcycling at all, put it down in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check out my website, YouMotorcycle.com. That's it. Peace. Bye-bye.